Welcome in, Sneeples. Do you have cards you want to protect, but there's a lot of options out there and you don't know which one's going to work the best? Today we're going over a lot of the ways to protect your cards, from graded cards to mini snaps to top loaders to whatever. And we're going to be putting them through the test. We're going to be putting them in water and a whole lot of other things. So stay tuned and we're going to review these cases. We have a classic sleeve. We have a sleeve with a perfect fit. We have a top loader with a perfect fit as well. Mini snap with a perfect fit. We have a one-touch case. We have a one-touch case with a card inside of the sleeve. We also have a graded card, as well as the PCG player slab, which is a graded card, just a little smaller. This is your classic white folding table. These come in pretty handy to play games with. So we're going to be using this as our base example, our base height for how high we're going to drop the cards for the drop test. The average of these tables run between 29 and 31 inches. This one's 31 inches. We're going on the high end of things. We're going to make sure that these can withstand the drop test, and if not, you're going to see. Up first, we have the classic sleeve. Nothing too extraordinary here, just kind of wandered down the air and fell, and got a little bit of a nick, but nothing huge. Now we have the sleeve with the inner sleeve. It's going to protect a little more from nicking, and as we can see, not a whole lot went on after we had the inner sleeve on, just kind of fluttered down. Now we're at the top loader. Occasionally these can jump out of the top loader, which is something to be careful of. Didn't happen here, of course. Top loader with the inner sleeve. Same boat, you got to be careful these don't jump out. With the inner sleeve, it does help from any scuffing. If it was to jump out, we're good here. We have the mini snap. This thing shattered open, as you saw, which then can scuff our card and scratch it. Coming up now, we have the mini snap with the inner sleeve, so if they jump out like it did, it might protect the card a little more from surface damage from it just scraping against the floor. While pulling it out, we're looking to see if there's any scratches or scuffs. We don't see that, but we do see some bottom damage just from it hitting the ground. Other than that though, it does look fine. Now we have the one-touch case, also exploded, and we're looking at it with the foil. Maybe there's scratches, we don't see any, so we're stoked, but see the back here, and there was some scuffing on the back from the card flying out. Now we have the one-touch with this sleeve on the inside, so it should protect us from the scuffing, but as we saw, it still exploded. We don't want a protector that just explodes on impact. Now we have the PSA card. It slams to the ground. It is a brick. We can see there might be minor scratches from this, but it did not crack. I have cracked a PSA case before. Thankfully, that did not happen here. PCG slab tumbling down. Let's look at it. We see a few minor scratches, but no cracks, which is a great thing, and it stayed pretty intact. For the water test, what we will do is we'll have a 2-inch pan, the card inside of the 2-inch pan, and then we'll have a 4-ounce portion cup filled with the liquid. We'll accidentally bump the liquid, spill it onto the card, then grab the card, look at it, wipe it off, and then look inside of the protection to see if any water got in. Alright, starting off with the basic sleeve, we drop it, the water gets it wet, we look at it, we're hoping that it didn't go in there, but it's a sleeve, of course water is going to leak in. We look at it, there's the water, the card has been compromised with water. Now looking at a sleeve with the inner sleeve might save a little more if water gets in, which it probably will because it's a sleeve, as we know. Dry it off a little bit, look at it. You can see like a couple drops, nothing big. We look at the bottom of the inner sleeve to pop it out to see if any water got in there. And while we look at it, we can see it's pretty dry, pretty clean. The inner sleeve did its job and protected it from water. We were quick enough to it. Now looking at one of the top loaders have a big opening, so water is going to get in, and I'm struggling to get it out. Sometimes cards will get stuck underwater because of the way it works, and this one, it got wet, I'll tell you what. We dry it off and we can still see the water residue through it. That's not a good sign. Water got in. As we try to open it up, we can tell it's like waterlogged already, and we just see water. The card is drenched, a lot of liquid. Not the healthiest for a card, I'll tell you what. Now let's try again, same exact top loader, or same different kind of top loader with the inner sleeve. Looking at it, not as much water got in. It didn't stay in the water as long. I was able to get it out quicker, but you know, reaction times will always be different. Some people are quicker than others, sometimes they're all different. Looking at it, not really any water at all on the sleeve. And then if we look on the inner side, out of the inner sleeve, it's pretty dry. Inner sleeve did its job. Looking at a mini snap, we were pretty quick to this one, but it's not looking too promising after we dry it off. We can see the red stain. That's not good. We open it up, we look, and there's water on the inside. The card has been compromised. Kind of even hard to fall out of the case. So mini snap didn't last too long. Mini snap with the inner sleeve. Let's hope this one works a little bit better. And if we have the inner sleeve inside, maybe that will protect the card. Dry it off, and we still see water residue. These mini snaps just leak water pretty well, it looks like, because these are pretty quick pulls. Looking at it, we see the water. It's visible, it's apparent. That's why it's red water, so we can look at it and actually see it. Looking at the inner sleeve, we see some on there. We pop it down, and we can tell some drops made it through. Inner sleeves won't work 100% of the time, but usually they work pretty well. And there's a couple more drops on the front. Card would be salvageable, but it has been compromised by water. Looking at the one-touch case, we throw the water on it, grab it, drying it off. We see the same thing we saw with the mini snaps. It looks kind of murky on the inside. Looking at it, we can tell a little bit water made its way inside by the hinges. We pop it out, we see some more water on the hinges, and then not a whole lot on the card, so it did pretty good. Now looking at the one touch with the sleeve on the inside, we're gonna look at the hinges, see if any water leaked through. It looks like maybe in the bottom left we did get some water. Yep, we can see the red glow. We're gonna pop this bad boy off. Water was at the hinges again. The hinges are a weak spot of these where water can kind of seep through. Now let's look at the card. Maybe the card is fine because we did have it in a sleeve after all, and it's a good chance we might make it, even though water did hit the sleeve. Sleeves do their job as well. Popping it out of the inner sleeve. Looks pretty dry. The sleeve with the inner sleeve held strong, and we're good to go. Let's look at the PSA card. This thing is a brick. It's indestructible. These things should be sealed. We're just gonna dry it off just to make sure we don't see any of the red liquid on the inside, and it looks perfect. Graded cards do a great job at avoiding water. I'll give them that. With the Fab Slab, it actually came with an outer coating seal. It's like a sleeve that goes around it to protect it from scratches and maybe other damages. So we quickly wipe that off. We're ripping the seal off. We don't really care. It was on there, so we use it as a layer of protection. Some water still did get through on the bottom, so we're gonna wipe that off, make sure nothing made it on the inside, and if we look, it's clean. Nothing made it on the inside. Just that first layer had a little bit of water go through. For the space test, we're going to conduct two things. We're going to put all of these cards with their protectors into certain deck boxes to see if they will fit and if the deck box will close. We will also compare these cards on a playmat with the play zones to see how comfortable and how cramped it might be if we have some really bulky cards. Starting it off with the classic, there's a plastic box. Of course, regular shoes are going to fit. Top loaders are going to be tight. Maybe at an angle, you might be able to slam it down. Not good for the card though. And then if we're looking at the mini snap, they fit really well into these. They're very comfortable. They do clink a little though. Then if we're looking at the one-touch case, they're a little big. You might be able to close it a little, not all the way though. We're looking at the Fab Slab, perfect fit. Yeah, graded card, we know the drill. They slam right in and never fit. Now if we're looking at a boulder, classic cards fit. It's a given, we know that, it shuts smoothly. Now if we're looking at the top loader, they kind of fit at an angle. You might be able to shut it, give it a good bop, it'll go down, but not good for the card. And as you can tell, I kind of broke the top loader doing that. Now if we try the mini snaps, they fit very snugly, not perfectly though, that's for sure. You kind of squeeze on the lid, but it's not going to close, even after a big old bop to it. It's just going to stay kind of shut, and that's not good for your cards, especially if you're trying to protect them. Then if we're looking at the one touch, maybe a little bit at an angle, but they're not going to shut, they're a little too tall. The Fab Slab, a little tight, a little snug. Maybe at an angle we might be able to wiggle it in there, but you're not going to fit many of them in one of these cases. Then if we're looking at a graded card, like a glove, like always, fits in everything. Now if we're looking at the Ultimate Card magnetic box, regular cards fit perfectly. Now if we're looking at the top loader, it's not really going to fit, maybe a little bit at an angle, but it's not going to go under, it's not going to shut. It doesn't work out. Mini snaps, maybe at an angle, not fully flush. They do go under. Might be able to fit a couple in there. One-touch cases are just really large, bulky, and big. Hard to make them fit, and they're not going to fit. Look at that. It didn't work. We're looking at the Fab Slab. Just a little too big to fit flush. It can fit sideways. Very snug if you put it in very gently. Not going to fit many of them in there. Then we got the graded card. This thing, just slams down. You can try any angle you want. It might probably never work, but that's the way it runs. You can try. Try again. But then if you get desperate, there's a sneaky place to hide it. Maybe get some duct tape and it might last. Now looking at placement on a playmat, of course the regular card's going to fit perfectly in those designated squares. If we're looking at the top loader, they fit decently well. They're a little big, but you can stack them on each other and it won't encroach your combat chain too much. If we're looking at the mini snaps, they fit just like they're supposed to, almost like a sleeve, where they're just in the right zones. They feel great on a playmat, honestly. If we're looking at the one touches, they do have a little bit more reach. They're a lot taller. They can clink, they can kind of get a little crowded. Not my favorite if I'm completely honest. They do encroach the combat chain pretty highly. And then if we're looking at the Fab Slab, they're just like the mini snaps. They fit perfect, they're like the sleeve. They feel really good to have and play with on the board. Very comfortable, very aesthetic. And then the graded card, these things are just huge. I've seen a lot of players use these before. I'm not a fan. If you have them all four side by side in your equipment zone, it just takes up too much space. We are going to grade each protection device with a graded scale. I have 3 different letters we're going off of. P is pass, F is fail, R is risky. Risky means it worked out this time, but it might not work out every time. You'll just want to be careful with any of the mini snaps or one touches, because if you drop them, they will explode and your card could be damaged. Inner sleeves can help from scuffing, so I'd keep that in mind. Something to note from this test, inner sleeve does help protect from water damage greatly. It is important that it is oriented in the correct direction, so then less water can get in. Thankfully, most of these things will fit comfortably in storage and or play zones, but when it comes to like the graded cards and or the one touches, the bulkier things, you'll just want to make sure you have those in a secure location so you do not lose them. So my final conclusion for all these cases, what I myself play with personally, what I would probably buy. Honestly, the best option for me is just going to be a perfect fit with a regular sleeve. But that's for if I'm playing my own deck, because I know probability of me dropping cards isn't as high, and if they do, it'll just kind of flutter down. Hopefully I try not to. I try to be very careful. As well as I try not to have any drinks around me while I play the games. As you saw, the perfect fit helps it getting from too wet, and if I'm quick enough, maybe I can save it. I also just like how slender they are, personally. One thing I really do like, and I do want to get more of though, is those player slab PCG graded cards. I would like to have some of my mainstay equipment, maybe my heroes, my cold foil heroes, in the PCG player slab, because I really do like the way they feel. I like how heavy they are. I like how most things they can fit into, as well as they're not gonna get wet and die, hopefully. You know, I mean, maybe I'll break one on accident one day, knowing me. I have seen photos online of a PCG graded box where your slabs can go in there. I haven't found them online yet to buy personally, but when I know more, I'll let you know. So those are what I would choose for myself for protection. Let me know what you guys use, what your preferred protection for cards are, and other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.